Hi guys, so welcome back. Today we're going to take on a very daunting and challenging topic, but we're going to do it. We're going to get through it. If my pen works, sorry, that's always the challenge. Okay, so today we're going to talk about how to storytell in college essays. And the reason why I chose this topic is because it's basically the biggest piece of feedback that I give everyone after I review essays is that there's usually a lack in storytelling, and that's a really important thing to incorporate because in order to have what I would consider a successful essay, you want it to be personable and engaging. And I'm going to define both of these words for you guys right now. So for personable, it's basically all things you, opposite of universal and broad. So basically, if you delete your name, can someone know that it's you? Is it still you? So you basically want to tap into your uniqueness in that nobody has had the exact same experience. Let me say that again. Nobody has had the exact same experience. So because of that, you just really want to capitalize on your experiences while you write it. And then for engaging, this is how I define this. Basically, you want something that the reader's into, that they're not going to zone out, and that they're able to follow along. So those are the goals of having story, like I think those are the primary goals of storytelling in a college essay, and that's what we're going to talk about in this video. There will be a part 2 because I only want to focus on a couple things because I know I like to drone on long and long about different things. So the first thing to achieve good storytelling is a topic, which I'm going to talk more about in other videos I have in the past, but I'll probably do more in this format. But basically, you want to talk about a topic that's meaningful to you and one that you want to talk about. So why is this criteria important is because you basically are going to not be able to storytell if you don't do this. Or not as effectively, I should say. You want to focus on meaningful and something that you want to talk about, not what you think that admissions officers want to hear. So that's very important to keep in mind. And with that in mind, we can move on to assuming that you have a topic and you're at the stage where you want to be able to storytell about the topic, how you can be able to do that. Number 2 is let the content drive the story. Essentially, what that means is whatever you choose to talk about, whatever your topic is, let that speak for itself. Oh my gosh, I'm speaking in riddles. Let me elaborate more. So essentially, what you want to do is, let's say you're choosing your topic and your topic is diving, right? Where does your experience in diving naturally start and end? Who have you met through that experience? Who was involved? What are things about diving that you've seen or done? Like, what up? Basically, what up with diving for you, right? What up with diving? What up with your topic? And honestly, that's a very, very broad question, but I want to emphasize a word that I use briefly is naturally, right? Where does the story naturally start? Where does it naturally end? Who is there? What things happen? What up? But you want to allow that topic to naturally develop. The best way to foster that is just to word vomit in the beginning. So I suggest this a lot, and it's because it's the truth. It's very important. You want to basically unleash all of your memories, all memories and ideas onto the paper, and then go from there. Typically, when you do word vomit, you're doing it in some sort of logical order. And sometimes it's not in a logical order, which is fine because you're going to be able to put it in a logical order, like in post-production. Alright, so this is contrary to what most people think because most people assume, oh, I have a topic, now I'm going to choose how to write. the topic. And then that causes a lot of problems because once you start thinking about how you want to write a topic, it's essentially putting your topic into a box. If I can draw a box, yeah. So it's trying to put your topic into a box, and it's leaving your poor little topic trying to shove your topic into a box when in fact maybe your topic is a lot larger than the box, and it is for most people. So you don't want to shove it into a box, and you want it to drive everything else itself. But once you're focused on the box, then because people are focused on, oh, how am I going to write it, and you're shoehorning your topic into the box, then the whole essay ends up being focused on the box and thinking about how pretty that you can make this box look, that you end up forgetting about the topic entirely. And then it shows in the essay because you'll have tons of extended metaphors, or you'll have tons of repeating lines and tons of imagery without the actual content, because you're covering all the content, because you're focusing on the vehicle in which you're going to propose the content from the very first step, as opposed to focusing on the topic and letting the topic be the vehicle that naturally occurs. Okay, here's all the content that I want to get out there. So, to go into a bit more detail about that, we're going to talk about, I think, the biggest things to incorporate, the biggest things to incorporate in your essay in order to have successful storytelling. And those things are going to be these following words that I'm going to do rainbow color because I'm a troll. Okay, so we're going to go who. Let me see if I can remember all of them. What, where, how, why, when. Is that all of them? That might be all of them. Okay, so let's go with that for now. So let's start with who. These are all things that must be incorporated in your essay, because this is your AKA context. Context is super important for everything. So if you're, again, going back to the diving reference, if your essay is going to be about diving and you don't have the context about how old you were when you started diving, or when this tournament took place in your stage of your diving career and things like that, then we don't have any sort of context or idea about what's going on. So context is going to be really important. So starting with who, also with context in general, once you incorporate context, it feels, wow, can I write more legibly? Sorry. It's going to feels more like a story. Even if you're not the best writer, even if you don't know how to write a novel, it's going to feel like a story if you incorporate these things. So for who, good things to think about is who was there, like who helped you get started. Typically, family members, are there for most steps of our lives. So family members were involved, if they were at all. Maybe friends. Also, in terms of friends, it could be old ones or it could be new ones. Did you make friends through an experience? I guess peers are also a lot of people that are commonly involved in things. And I would say mentors. So, for example, a lot of people say, I realized. Was there anyone who helped you make that realization? Or was it just your self monologue? And if it was just your self monologue, maybe it wasn't actually a realization, it was something you kind of knew from a while ago. Thinking about like what roles other people played in the story that you're trying to tell is going to be really helpful in developing that story. So in terms of what happened, what did you do? What actions did you take? Essentially, what is so important, because this is the one that a lot of people will overlook with imagery or metaphors. Or thoughts, and then you basically are thoughts, and then you're basically shrouding and covering the actual experience. So what is your actual experience? So you want to make sure that's there and it's contextualized, so we know what happened and what you were going through. And so that's typically what happens in the word vomiting stage. You'll get a lot of the what on the paper, so that's nice. So the where can be broadly contextualized. What country were you in? What sometimes state could be helpful. Sometimes where matters, and this all depends on your story and who you are. Like for me, I didn't switch countries a lot, so mentioning like what country I was in probably not the most helpful, but for other people, that can be very helpful. What other wheres could we do? We could do inside, outside. I'm cautious about where because you don't want to accidentally over narrate the setting, but it's still helpful to know where things are happening at points of time. So you don't necessarily need to over narrate the where, but just name dropping it can be very helpful. Okay, how? This is really important for the realization stage. If you find yourself writing that word on your essay, you really want to write the mechanism of change. Mechanism, impetus of change. If that's not there and we just have to take your word for it, then we're missing a lot of context about how it actually happened, if at all. So that's something really important to think about. And this is probably, I would say, the hardest part of the essay. So it's something to be aware of early on, and it needs to be there. You cannot just state a realization. You have to have your mechanism of change and kind of narrate that a bit because things don't just change all of a sudden. Things don't just change all of a sudden. If they're monumental enough for you to write in a college essay. So that's why you want to think about how those things change. For why is really important in terms of logicking things out. So if you took steps to change something, why did you take those steps? So just explaining, I guess, your reasoning for certain behaviors. For behaviors, so if you say, I just chose to do something, that's not the best way to approach it because why did you choose to just do that? We want to know a little bit about the reasoning for all your actions because that's what's going to be most helpful. And then finally, when these I like to refer to as timestamps. They're super, super important because without any timestamps, we have no idea how old you are. We don't know what year you were in or how recent something was. So chronological order is really important. If your whole essay is about one time period, then having that in your intro is all you really need. But if it's over the span of your whole life, then you kind of want to timestamp each stage of your life if you're changing throughout all of those. And yeah, I think these are really great ways to just personalize your story because it's focusing on the specifics of it. And I think these 6 different words are going to help you get a lot more specific and a lot more deep, a lot more quickly, and allow you to storytell. And with that, that's all I really have for this section of storytelling. And I'll see you guys next time.